So Elchonon, we're recording a special session together today. Why are we recording this?
Yeah, it's not normal for me to put something down for a sermon, and when I'm looking at it on a Friday, I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, am I really saying this? Am I really going to share this?" And then I send it to a colleague, and he's like, "Wow, that's really personal," and then he used other descriptive terminology, referencing maybe this isn't the cleverest move, but on the other hand, I need to back myself. Then I share it on Shabbos, and I get some polarized responses. I get from a few people that this is something which I needed to say, that needed to be heard, and hopefully it has been heard, and others to say, "Rabbi, are you sure that you're supposed to say this?" So why am I recording it? Because you have to back yourself, and maybe I have to double down, and this is a message which clearly is very close to my heart, and if it resonated or it offered a strong reaction to those in the room, perhaps it will also receive attention further afield as well. And really, it's centralized on a question which I'm certainly not the first one to articulate, but perhaps the context of it is also critical. I mean, the question is a very straightforward one. Are we seeing possibly now the demise of that generation of people, of that category of individual called the Shul-Goer? Is the Shul-Goer fading away in history? And the context of it is really, really important, because I had 7 hours to think about this question, 7+ hours. It involved a journey that I took last week to go from Bushey to Leeds, up to Leeds, and back to attend the levaya of one of the congregants of our community, Martin Clark, Zichrono Livracha, Martin of blessed memory. I arrived there. Martin was a treasured individual in our community, and he was actually an only child, and was raised in Newcastle, eventually set up life in Leeds, where he was laid to rest. And although he was an only child, at his levaya, he had 20 descendants who were there mourning for his loss. And Martin's grandson, Josh, represented the family to speak. And he began by saying that Martin loved 2 things in this world. He enjoyed many things in this world, but he loved 2 things. The first was he loved being with friends and family. And the second was that Martin loved a good minyan. He loved being part of a good minyan. He loved knowing that there was a good minyan represented, that the Jewish community had come together in sizable numbers for our services. And Martin lived by that ideal. He lived with that love, as literally just a few days before he died, he was in Shul, he was in our synagogue, making up the minyan, being counted upon, because Martin came from that breed of individual who knows that showing up as a Jew matters. When you show up, it makes a real difference. And I came back from Leeds straight to a dinner party, and Martin was on my mind. And I shared with some of the gathered diners, and I reflected that we've been really successful as a Jewish community to raise a generation, I'm talking about people my age, who are proudly Jewish, will stand up for their Judaism, who want to be involved Jewishly, and are successful in so many areas of life. but they would never call themselves Shul-Goers. They would never associate as one of their core values showing up in the way that Martin did. And I reflected with these individuals, perhaps maybe we are seeing the demise of the Shul-Goer. And that led me on this chain of thought around, well, if there is a value in showing up and coming to Shul, being counted, why? What is it about Shul? What is it about being a Shul-Goer which offers so much to us, and why would we mourn its passing? So the core question of what does being part of a shul, being a Shul-Goer, what does that bring to our lives? Well, I explored answering it through an article which I had read about the closure of a particular synagogue in Riverdale, New York. And that article resonated with me because it could have been written about any particular shul in the UK as well. The community had declined, people moved elsewhere, the synagogue's rhythm or features had lost attraction to those who were there, and it eventually dwindled, and that was that. Shuls closed. So the writer didn't focus on the closure of the shul. Instead, he wanted to take the opportunity to thank the shul in this time of closure for what it had offered him. And he said, rather than simply providing a place of prayer, what the shul offered to him was a place where he could become a mensch. He said it's because in the setting of a shul is where he learned how to notice the stranger. Not just to notice, but to learn the person's name. It's where he found that you can have awkward and uncomfortable teenagers who could be brought in to the services and find a voice and find confidence and to find their place. It was a place which had this extraordinary capacity to equalize, and sitting side by side, you can have a CEO, someone down and out, a retiree, a young parent, and each of them belonged. He said that it was in the shul where this transcendence could take place, where this haven of kindness, of gemilat chasadim, can be nurtured and developed into something that shaped the individual, but also helped us be part of something greater than that. And I thought to myself, with the demise, potentially, of Shul-Goers, we're going to lose that. We're going to lose that sense of what we call kehillah, of community, the central place where through our gathering, each person counts, and when we count together collectively, we count all the more. It was relevant to the Torah portion, which we read of Naso, which features specifically the idea of counting our people. But counterintuitively, we don't count our people to offer a statistic, but instead to emphasize that through our coming together as one, we count more. We become a tzibur, we become a community, and it's in that space where the Shekhinah, where the presence of the Almighty is able to be found. It's not a coincidence that you need a minyan, you need a gathering of people together to recite specific prayers, because it's in that space of community where Hashem's presence can be more palpably felt. So I got up in shul and I asked the question, and I said, there are so many here today who would not identify themselves as Shul-Goers. They would probably say that their coming to shul was either an occasional thing, perhaps circumstantial, attending a celebration, through invitation, or perhaps even duty. For many, their coming to a service or making up a service would fall under the category of an endurance sport. You have to somehow survive shul, and you walk out and say, I did my job, or I fulfilled my responsibility. But that's not, if that's what happens in shul, if we don't walk out with a smile, then obviously I've done something wrong, we've done something wrong. There hasn't been a transcendent experience in the shul.
So I'd say, like, if we look around, the Shul-Goers tend to be, the older generation. What part of this message do you think could be relevant to younger people or to the future?
Yeah, I don't think that certainly the message I was giving on the day was a guilt trip. I don't think it was saying that. One person said to me as I was leaving, Rabbi, I might not be a Shul-Goer, but I do other things. And I thought to myself, well, firstly, I know you do other things. I know that you do great things. We all do great things, and all that should be applauded. And certainly the Martin Clark generation grew up where they didn't have the distractions, and they didn't have perhaps the alternatives. Being a Shul-Goer in some ways can be routine, a habit-forming thing, which if you're not simply part of, then you don't get much out of it. In fact, in the evening, someone said to me, he had been thinking about my sermon all day. So in the evening, after I delivered it, he said, Rabbi, I was thinking we need to have more entrance points, more ways for people to enjoy the shul experience. I think that's right. I think it's obviously a partnership, because getting something out of anything worthwhile means that you have to invest in it. But what I was specifically speaking to the generations my age and younger who didn't have the gift of shul going in their blood as part of their identification. And what I was saying to them was that I can see sparks of transcendence. I can see sparks of interest, of authenticity, of yearning from those who are much younger than the Martin Clarks, who was approaching 90 years old, and perhaps I was offering an invitation, because too easily we think that we know who we are, we know who we're not, and it's almost like, I need to be frum to be a Shul-Goer, or I need to have a track record. Like someone said to me in the Kiddush, he said, Rabbi, I only come on Shabbat. I don't come during the week, so am I not a Shul-Goer? So I said, I'm going to repeat exactly what I said in my sermon. We need more Shul-Goers, which means that we need more people who identify themselves as Shul-Goers. And that's a spectrum, and that certainly requires a change of attitude towards who we are and what we are and our values. But you're only going to get that through shul. So it was an invitation to say, if it resonates a little bit with you, what I'm saying, maybe this is an invitation to go on a journey.
I was particularly moved. You spoke to the bar mitzvah boy, and you gave a reference to do with football, which I thought really resonated to him about his shul attendance and the message to that next generation down, that the new mensch that's just joined the Jewish people.
Yeah, I think that was me, perhaps either taking a rabbinic license or getting myself in serious trouble, which quite possibly
You often do both.
the two go together. So this particular bar mitzvah, it happens to be two things. He's kind of like a Martin Clark Jr. He loves, not friends and family, I'm sure he does, I know he does, but he loves his football. He loves supporting his football team, in this case, Tottenham Hotspurs, but he also loves shul. He's like this rare kid who actually, throughout the year, come to the bar mitzvah. He was eager to be there. He's described the experience as feeling the Shekhinah, as feeling the spirituality there. And like, as I'm listening to saying this, I'm thinking like, there's something here. So when this Shabbat, I spoke to him, and he's an ardent football supporter of Tottenham. And I said, and if you're going through the list of motivations of why you might want to become a Shul-Goer, just bear in mind that I have no doubt, and I said that this is a theological position I'm taking, which is a really silly thing to say, but I said it anyway. And that is that this boy, this young man coming to Shul and being happy there, Hashem, God is smiling at this kid. He's smiling that he sees him there with his father and his grandfather all together. And Hashem wants him to smile more. So what's going to make this boy smile more? And Hashem's thinking that if Tottenham avoids relegation by a hair, by a hair's breadth, that's going to bring a smile to this bar mitzvah boy. And lo and behold, the next day, Tottenham manages miraculously to avoid relegation. And I said, if you need a reason to come to Shul, then that in itself will be a reason to become a Shul-Goer. And boy, did I get a smile. I got a smile from the bar mitzvah, but I think I got an even bigger smile from Hashem, because I think I was speaking the truth. And in those moments of transcendence where you can actually connect to community, connect to yourself, connect to God, you need to step in to get that. And therefore I left with an aspiration. I concluded my sermon with an aspiration. I said, I can't wait to hand the keys over of our synagogue to these Martin Clark Juniors, to these next generations of young men and women, boys and girls, who believe in the value of being a Shul-Goer. And I think we can be hopeful that rather than it being the demise of the Shul-Goer, it's more that we just need to invite the next generation to taste it, to feel it, to come at it through their own ways, but to eventually take on the mantle of being Shul-Goers as well. I believe this, and our Jewish communities will only be richer from those who step up and say, Shul's an important thing. Our synagogues are important places. We're going to become the Shul-Goers.
Thank you. So I think sharing this message this week was particularly significant for Bushey Shul community, because our shul just made it into the news. And I wonder if you want to just conclude by reflecting on our exciting plans and why your message is so relevant to Bushey Shul as where we stand right now.
Yeah, I said, I referenced it in the sermon this past week, our building plans to renovate our synagogue and to do to realize this vision of a community center with a place to pray, to go to shul, to be a Shul-Goer, built in to have really all that we want and hope that shul can be, for it to be realized. And I said that, you see in the news that Bushey is building. So we're not building as part of a vanity project. We're not building because we want to be this gem on the high street of our particular town. We're building because we believe in shul. We believe that kihila, that community, will always offer the place where we can transcend into something greater than ourselves. So ultimately, a shul is about the people who come through the doors, day in, day in, day out, weekday, weekend, and we're investing in that. We're investing in the spirit of what shul has always been, and shul will always be as well. And we're celebrating that. We're backing ourselves. We're proudly proclaiming our confidence that Shul-Goers are out there. They just need to be inspired a little bit to receive the invitation. And I concluded my sermon by saying that this particular family, who identify themselves as Shul-Goers, the last thing that they said to me as I concluded my pre-bar mitzvah interview is to say, Rabbi, we love shul so much, but the weekend after the bar mitzvah, we're not around. But don't worry, we'll be back the next week. And I think that's my concluding message. Come back. If you've had inspiration from your shul, then come back. Accept the invitation. And perhaps one day you'll be able to pass on the love and value of being a Shul-Goer to someone else as well.